Well, sorry about that. We actually had an issue live streaming, and so we thought we were live, and turned out that we weren't. So if we are live right now and you are catching this, please let me know. It looks like it's streaming live. I apologize if you were waiting at 7 o'clock. I just did a majority of our overview and was not live. So I hope you will accept our apology. This is part two. What the whistle here of our series. And I'm here in the studio, Life Journey Production Studio. My name is Keith, and I thank you so much for joining me in this live stream here on YouTube. I want to say that this is new to us as far as streaming on YouTube. I've done quite a bit of streaming on Facebook. I am new to YouTube. Tonight I'm using the ATEM Mini Pro. Here's a look at what's going on in our studio right now. Switch to that slide. So here's everything we have going on in the studio, and it's very interesting. You can see that in part one, and it's in our streaming playlist. That's where this will be after this live is out there. And so if you do jump on with me tonight, please give me a shout out. Let me know where you're at, and I will try to answer some questions at the very end. If you have some, I will kind of let you know, post those, and I will try to address them, or later after this gets on YouTube. So let me just say this. If you look at all of these things in the studio, it's probably overwhelming. If you've never done it before, maybe it's not new to you. And it's something that you get. Maybe it's something that you're learning about, but we believe that live streaming is changing exponentially. With 2020, it's really changed things. And so, because it's actually changed things for me as a video producer, as a podcaster, a videographer, photographer, content creator, consultant, it's really shut a lot of things down for me. So I took that focus in on where I felt like we were going. And not only did I feel like that, I think Blackmagic Design did. They'd already come out with the ATEM Mini, but they busted out the Pro and the ISO. Lots of technology change. Lots of people seem to be on the cutting edge of what was going to take place. So now we have people at home doing home business, Zoom calls. They are doing meetings at home. People are live streaming. People are doing Facebook Live, YouTube Live, all of the other streaming softwares that are out there and programs. And you need a solution now if you want to do it at a level like we're doing it here in Life Journey Production Studio. So how are we doing it? Well, this is my setup tonight for audio. So not only do you have all the pieces for video through the ATEM Mini Pro, which I own, and we'll cover that here in a very soon to be done live stream on this 10-part series on live streaming video production in the studio. And I'm just going to focus on the things that I chose out of all the different things and a little bit why. And I will have some overviews of some of those already here. Like some of the lights that I use. I did an overview of the ATEM Mini Streaming Bridge by Blackmagic Design. I have more videos coming, but on this live stream, I really want to address a couple things about the audio side of my studio. I chose the RodeCaster Pro because it does a lot of things for podcasting, which is what I was trying to accomplish when I actually first bought it. I love the idea that it was an interface that I could take anywhere. I could plug it in to my laptop. I could use it as a audio interface. And a little history on me prior to diving headlong into content creation, video production. I've been playing around with video, but I've been focusing on audio. I have my own recording studio. Actually, this is my fourth studio that I've moved into and built. This is a room in my house. It's not as high tech as the last two studios that I built, actually tearing out walls, soundproofing, doing more than soundproofing, audio control, having a control room, a vocal booth, a main audio recording room, running all the wires, all of the crazy things that you do when you're recording studio, thousands of dollars, 1,000 man hours, thousands of dollars of equipment. And when I decided to trim things down and try to streamline things and be more mobile and be able to do stuff out of my house in a smaller room, I made a transition in my last house upstairs and did the remodel again and made a little mastering audio room. And then when we sold that house and moved into this house, I've slowly been turning this into a live production room. That means I can do interviews, video and audio podcasts, and I also want to be mobile. So the RodeCaster Pro is a perfect solution for that. And you can see it here on the screen. And it starting left to right, you see the two highlighted channels, and you can see the back of it here, right here next to me and up here. So over there, you see the two highlighted channels, and that's channel 1 and 2. And I have this SM7B plugged into channel 1, and I have a Rode NTG shotgun microphone positioned right here, just off the screen. And it's over there so I can turn towards the RodeCaster Pro and get audio over there as well and push this microphone out of the way. And that's in channel 2. Then there's 2 more XLR channels, and you can see them on the back again right here. Channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 going right to left. And channel 1 and 2 I have cables plugged into right now. 3 and 4 I have a snake plugged in. If you don't know what a snake is, it has a number of channels. You plug it into the back of your board, and then you have one long cable to string to the other side of your room. And I usually have channel 3 and 4 plugged into the snake. That way I can take my NTG3 on a C-stand over to the other side of the room and use my table. And if you look at my my other videos here on YouTube, you can see me using that NTG3 at my table, even though it's off screen, but that's what I use over there. So I can get audio over there, and I can get audio here on my desk a number of different ways. So 2 microphones plugged in tonight, as well as I am taking the ATEM Mini USB-C out. I'm using it as a webcam, because the thing about the Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini, the original version, it had 4 different video inputs, and you could feed out your video program through your USB-C cable. You still can today with the Pro, which is what I own, and the ISO, which is the newest version of the Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini. And we'll talk about the differences. Please don't buy one of those until you do some research, because you cannot encode and stream directly from the ATEM Mini unless you go to a computer and use a program software inside your computer. But my ATEM Mini Pro, I can hook it right up to my network inside my house, and I can stream directly out to Facebook, YouTube, and any other locations from it. And I can also do different video switching from it as well. And it records to a USB, out of that USB-C port when you're not using it as a webcam, and it records the program out. The ISO will record all 4 video inputs as well as your media player, and that's crucial. And it also will record the audio channels. So you'd have 2 audio channels, as well as each of the inputs. The HDMI inputs has audio built into it, and all of that is recorded, and you can mix it down later in a program called DaVinci Resolve. Or you can just take those files, put them into your Adobe Premiere software or your Final Cut Pro, and edit a video out of that. So I like the idea of using the ATEM Mini Pro in my studio and mixing everything live. Hopefully I don't make any mistakes, which I seem to do almost every live stream, right? But it's a little bit more simple working from the ATEM Mini. I'm not just working from the ATEM Mini tonight because I needed more channels, and I wanted to demo some things tonight live that's why I'm using OBS. OBS is a free software that you can get. So we'll talk more about that in the future podcast. So out of the outputs of the back of my RodeCaster Pro, you can see right here on the screen, the first 2 cables are mic out, or XLR inputs from the 2 microphones, and the next 2 wires go into my subwoofer. From my subwoofer, that would go out to the 2 right and left stereo speakers in my studio, but I'm running out of my subwoofer over to the switch, the Hossa switch, and that gives me 1 input, which is stereo, right and left, and it gives me 3 outputs. So one of those goes to my speakers, then I can switch it over to the 3rd channel, and that goes out to my ATEM Mini Pro. And you can see right here next to me, the mic 1 and mic 2 in the back of the ATEM Mini Pro, and I use channel 1. So I come out 1/4 inch, and it goes into a stereo 1/8" jack, and that cable plugs in the back of the ATEM Mini, and so I can use my RodeCaster Pro for streaming directly from the ATEM Mini Pro. So that's cool. So there's reasons I'll use that for latency, and tonight I'm using the RodeCaster Pro because I'm using not only my USB camera right now on my laptop, I'm also using the ATEM Mini Pro to show you up close of the ATEM or the RodeCaster Pro. So again, that's how it's hooked up. You don't have to hook it up that way. You could simply come right out of those two right and left channels right to your speakers in your studio, and then turn them off when you go live. So just looking over here, don't see any comments yet on the chat, but maybe that's because I have something not correct. But anyway, if you do get on this live stream, give me a shout out. I'm Keith Bennett with Life Journey Production Studios, and we're doing a 10-part series on the studio here and all the pieces of equipment that we use. So the RodeCaster Pro is the choice that I made for my studio for a number of reasons. Like I already shared, because I wanted to do podcasting, but the more I did research when using it with the ATEM Mini Pro, I felt like it's the perfect hub for audio. Not only do I have the ability to put headphones on and plug it into channel 1 of the headphone outs, I also have 3 more headphones out. So I could have 3 other guests in the studio. They can put headphones on. They can hear the intro reel, the outro reel. They can talk to guests who call in. Or if I'm just using it for a video, I don't have to have the headphones on at all. I can just watch my audio meters and know that I'm getting good audio. And I don't have to have headphones on. So in podcasts, you just talk back and forth, and it's the producer's job to make sure you have good audio. And when I'm the producer of podcasts, I have the headphones on, and I'm making sure that everybody's levels are great. So let's change screens here and get right into the RodeCaster Pro. So this shot right here is actually my iPhone, and it is plugged into channel 4 of the ATEM Mini Pro, so you can see it right here. Sorry, I didn't switch cameras. And I have it set right now to the pad view in the touchscreen, so I can change banks on the pads, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Or I can just go into this live view, and so you can see right now we have a signal on channel 1, and I'm in channel 1 using the SM7B, which you saw in my picture. Channel 2 is muted. This light is on. That means that channel's muted. I have the settings on the 5th notch down, which is kind of 0 on the RodeCaster Pro. And I'm using channel 1 and 2 tonight, and I can actually switch over to the other microphone, and you can tell it sounds just a little bit different because that is got phantom power. It's about 1.5 feet away from my face right now, so it's not quite the same quality as the SM7B, and that's why I like to have this microphone right here in front of my face. So then moving over, I have 2 more channels of audio. Then I have my USB channel, and if I bring my USB channel up like this, and if I wanted to play something from my laptop right now, I could play you that audio right here. So if I wanted to show you one of my videos on YouTube, I could literally play that video through OBS and play the audio through the RodeCaster Pro. This is also the channel that I would use to be able to listen back when I was doing mixing, and I use Premiere Pro and Adobe Audition. I also have Studio One software that I can use, and I can use this as a interface. This channel right here is for a phone hookup, and I can hook up my iPhone right here. So it's a TSR jack, and you can see that that has 1, 2, 3. So you can have audio in, audio stereo or stereo out, and then you adapt that with the adapter that comes with your iPhone, and you plug this into your iPhone. If you have the newest versions that use this as a lightning port, or if you have the old version, you can plug it in like this. And now I can bring in a phone-in guest. That's right. I can bring a phone-in guest, and on the USB channel, I can go in the settings and switch it to mix minus. I have mix minus available on this channel, and I have mix minus available on this channel, which is a Bluetooth channel. So what is mix minus? Let's just roll that out here real quick and talk to you real quickly here face to face. Mix minus is when I call in to a show and they play the show back in my headphones so I can talk to everybody else. If they have my voice coming back at me, it creates a loop, and that loop can create feedback and all kinds of problems, latency, delay. And so what mix minus does, and this is a great feature in the RodeCaster Pro, mix minus does what they do in all the radio stations. It's set up. They spend a lot of money to set up a mix minus. They can do it through high-end consoles. They can do it through interfaces, but you have it if you purchase a RodeCaster Pro in 3 channels: the USB channel, the 1/8-inch phone jack channel, and I can also Bluetooth in my iPad. I can Bluetooth in my phone and take another caller with mix minus on that. Or I could use that to play music. If I wanted to play music or a clip or an interview from my iPhone, I can literally play that audio into the RodeCaster Pro. So I don't have to take a call-in guest. I can use that channel in the RodeCaster Pro to be able to bring music in. So if I didn't want to use my laptop, I can actually use my phone to bring in music into my podcasts. And there's lots of apps out there to make that simple. Or I can hook up the USB cable and power it and transfer data, music, VoIP call, a Skype call, all of that, Zoom call right into the RodeCaster Pro using the USB output. So that's what those 3 channels do. Now let's roll over to this 3rd channel and talk about what that little channel does. So this channel right here is the volume control for your pads. Right now I have my show music playing, so you can hear that come up. Put my headphones back on so I can hear what you hear. Bring that volume back down so I can talk over that. Which reminds me, if you are hosting and you're in channel 1, when you have 3 other guests on, or 1 guest or 2 guests, when you talk as the channel 1 host, it does a drop down setting available inside. So it does a ducking in these other channels. So you can basically have, when you talk, all of their volumes drops just enough. And if they have headphones on, they'll get that hint from you. It gives you the ability to kind of control your show, especially in podcasting. And when you have an audio guest on and you have people in the studio, it's nice to be able to have that little bit of extra help to work with your guests. I can also solo the main host channel and solo one of the guests and talk with them off the show. So if my show is live, I can literally talk to them, tell them that we're going to be ready for them in the minute. I can have that set so when they call in, I'm the only one that hears the phone ring. I could answer that phone off microphone, so I could mute my microphone, answer them, and then I could use these 2 people and I could talk to them off camera. And then when I'm ready to bring them on the show, I would turn off the solo buttons and I would bring up their volume, obviously this volume, or a Skype call with a USB volume, or a Bluetooth call with this volume, and bring those up in the middle of the show. If I want to play something from audio, I can actually just bring up this volume. I can turn this off, back on again, and I can go into the pad settings right here, and I can go into each one of these pads, and I could actually change it from latch, which is what I was using, to pause, replay, and play. So in a future video, we'll talk about what they do. I can also record on one of these pads. So I could do a pre-dub of music, as well as a voiceover for an intro or an outro. Maybe I have a guest on in a half hour. They could do a quick PSA and we could stream that out as a teaser. I could program that in and just play it whenever I wanted to. I could use it during the break. tease the second half of a podcast with my guest, and have that all pre-recorded before we go live. And again, each one of these pads can have different music on it. Listen to this. Drum roll, applause. Maybe it's not that exciting of a podcast. So I can put music on those pads. I can put audio on those pads. Lots and lots of options with the RodeCaster Pro. So again, 4 main XLR channels. I have 3 more guests I can bring in, or a phone or a pad. I can actually hook the Bluetooth up to other devices in my house, like my TV and all that, and play the audio from my TV into my RodeCaster Pro, just for my own use when I'm in my studio. And I'm sure there's many other options I haven't even thought about yet for Bluetooth, mainly for a phone or an iPad or a smart tablet, or even a laptop could Bluetooth into this. Now, obviously, the direct plug audio is higher quality than Bluetooth. It's not super, super high resolution, but a lot of people can't hardly hear a difference on that. So again, high quality Skype calls could come in through USB, through the smartphone hooked up to channel, the phone channel I call it, or the Bluetooth channel. And then you have control over the sounds and music in your podcast, which is great. So all in, you have lots of different ways that you can use the RodeCaster Pro in your studio. So let's roll in and talk just a little bit about the audio interface that comes with the RodeCaster Pro. So let me shrink down that screen, and we will turn on my display and switch this camera. So here you see the software right here. And when you open it up, it looks like this. And this is a page. You have multiple pages. This is my show, and I use this for my live stream as well as my wife's podcast. So I'm kind of combining pages, but you can do a number of pages. I think it says up to 8 pages. And so I can program a different page for each one of my guests or podcasts or clients. If I'm doing some podcasts for clients, I can have their page all ready to go, load everything in and restore it and bring up their page and be ready to do their show without having to drag and drop things on here. So I do have the drag and drop screen open just to demonstrate that. So this is an ambient busy road wave file. So you can drop in MP3 wave files. So we're going to drop this in, and you can see it now loading. So it's going to take a few moments. Wet the whistle here again, whatever that means. I can also, again, load in MP3s. I can do a recording onto that pad. But right now I want to kind of show you some of the power of this software. And now this is with a firmware update. So if you do get a RodeCaster Pro or you buy one from someone else, make sure that you upgrade the firmware. There's lots of new features. So there it is. And you can see I already had ambience bus on here. So I can delete that. I'm not going to right now because that'll kick it into interface mode and I'll lose the audio for a second. But now I have this in here. It's on, I call page 3. They're calling it bank 3. So now if I go to the RodeCaster Pro, so let's go back and find my mouse here. We will switch back to this view. And then if I go up into this software and I change to page 3, so I'm on bank 4. Once I add something to page 3, it will add a bank 4. And so this is the first time I've had a bank 4. So there it is. So we know it's that pad. I can change the color in the software of the pad if I wanted to. But now let's play this right now. That sounds like my music. So let's go back to my other page and turn my music off. And then let's go back to this page and we'll play this ambient noise. So this is just ambient bus noise. And I've never played it all the way to the end, but if you want features on sound effects on your program, whatever your project you're working on, maybe you need to do some video editing for a client and you want to audition some of these sounds ahead of time, then you could literally play in the track in your USB channel, and then you could mix in these sounds to see if you like them or not. And that'd be one way to touch and feel, or you could just do it all in your computer in software. So all of these pads can be loaded. You can also record on them. So if I hit that pad, now I can clear it. I can record on it. So I literally can use the microphone right now and hit record, and I could record something on that pad. Should we do it? And let's just do it. So let's hit record. Bus ambience, let's clear it. Let's record. Well, welcome back to Life Journey Productions Studio, and this is Keith, and thank you for joining our live stream today. We are testing out a pad in the RodeCaster Pro to see what the recording sounds like. There you go, and so now we can bring this up and we can play it back. Well, welcome back to Life Journey Productions Studio, and this is Keith, and thank you for joining our live stream today. We are testing out a pad in the RodeCaster Pro to see what the recording sounds like. And I've played with this before. I also want to show you this little switch right here. That's overdub. So now I could dub some stuff over top of that. So let's try that. So all we have that we can try to dub over that is this. So let's try it. Well, welcome back to Life Journey Productions Studio, and this is Keith, and thank you for joining our live stream today. We are testing out a pad in the RodeCaster Pro to see what the recording sounds like. So I think we stopped that, so let's turn that sound off. Well, welcome back to Life Journey Productions Studio, and this is Keith, and thank you for joining our live stream today. We are testing out a pad in the RodeCaster Pro to see what they're... So I hadn't tested that with playing a pad yet, but that's curious, so we'll do some more research into that. You would think that anything that you run into the RodeCaster Pro would be able to play. I was just trying to play that ambient bus noise and record it at the same time. But so again, you can overdub on the pads. I don't do a lot of overdubbing, but it actually says, do I want to save the overdub? I'm going to say save it. And who knows, maybe that would play now. Should we try it? Well, welcome back to Life Journey Productions Studio, and this is Keith, and thank you for joining our live stream today. We are testing out a pad in the RodeCaster Pro. So I don't hear any ambience, but we'll dive deeper into that in a future podcast because that's in a firmware update, and I haven't done a lot of overdubbing, but I love the idea of being able to do music and then my voice over for an intro. And mostly I just record that in my studio and play my music from my laptop, and I don't try to do that right directly on the RodeCaster Pro. But that's a great feature once we figure out exactly how to get that to work. So the pads are recordable. You can record to the RodeCaster Pro. You can see that big red button at the top of the RodeCaster Pro. That's the record button. So the nice thing also about the RodeCaster Pro is I can record all the tracks. So all the guests, all the pad audio, which is a track, right? And then I can also record each one of the channels, and that's amazing. So when I'm done, I can transfer all those files, and we're going to look at that now. So when I go back to that screen, I'm going to switch microphones, because when you go into the transfer mode, when you turn that on in the software, companion software, it changes the USB port. So you no longer are using your RodeCaster Pro as an audio interface. You're using it to transfer files back and forth. So I'm going to turn on my Logitech microphone in just a minute, and I'm going to lose the SM7B because I'm going to show you how the transfer software works. So here we go. So switch screens again. So I'm going to go up here and show you this button right here, which is the podcast button. And I'm done transferring files, so we will close this. So if I wanted to transfer my files, and let's switch microphones now because we're going to go off the air. Now I'm on the Logitech microphone. I'm sure it sounds amazing. So let's turn this on. And it gives me this warning in the corner here. You can't quite see it. I can't move it into the screen. And I click OK. And now it's going to go into a different mode here. And now you can see all these files pop up. These are recordings that I have done on the RodeCaster Pro. So I've actually pushed the record button and I recorded these, and I have it set to multi-channel. So these files say multi-channel, multi-channel, multi-channel. So I can switch that off and just record the stereo track. But I think it's great that you can record every channel. So if I was to click on one of these, I can now export it. And I'm not going to go export it because it takes a while. But if I hit export, it's going to ask me where I want to send those files, and I can choose where I'm going to send them. But I want to point out this feature right here. You see where it says this is called Podcast 20, and I could change the name of it right here. If I click on here, you got iTunes. I have all of these different places, these settings inside the RodeCaster Pro companion software. So I can prepare my audio when I transfer it from my RodeCaster Pro to the right LUFS level, broadcast level, which is a broadcast standard, for those different places. So like my wife does Libsyn. So if I wanted to, I always mix everything in Adobe Audition because I'm mixing a video and audio. So I will mix it in Adobe Audition. But let's say I had a client and I'm doing a wedding and I want to hand them a file before I leave. I could just simply pick one of these, get it to the setting that I want. So let's say I like the levels of Libsyn. I click on this advanced icon, and it tells me that that's a MP3 44.1, which is CD quality, 192 bit rate. So I could raise this up, but that's what normally you do Libsyn. Now my wife and I send all my files to Libsyn at 256K, which is a higher resolution file. But they have it defaulted at 192. Well, let's say I don't like that 192 and I just want to pick another setting. Here's an MP3 for iTunes at 256K at the loudness level of -16, which is great for YouTube. You can go as high as -15 on YouTube. But if you sent this audio file up to YouTube at -16, you're going to get the least amount of artifacts when they compress it to -15. And it does make a difference. So now if I hit export, it's going to export this whole project at this level. And that is amazing. And I love that feature. So again, if I want to transfer all these files when I'm done with the podcast, hook up my laptop to the USB port and I can download all these files. Every single channel will be recorded as a WAV file. I can mix, I can change it, I can send it with the effects on it, I can send it without the effects. And we're going to talk about the effects here in just a minute. So we're going to turn that back off. It asks me if I want to. Yes, I do. My computer is going to resense the RodeCaster Pro. It goes back live, and I can switch back to my SM7B microphone. So I want to wrap this up by looking real quickly at the RodeCaster Pro one last time, and I want to talk about the effects that are in it. So the RodeCaster Pro to me stands out because not only does it have the ability for nice, easy presets for someone that doesn't know their way around a mixing console, right? So you use the preset for the compressor, use the preset for all the microphones. But the cool thing is now with the firmware update, you can go in and change the compressor settings. You can change the high pass filter. You can change the de-esser. You can change all of those features. So let's look at that again. So if we go into channel 1, you have the level setting, click back. You have the different microphone settings. So not only do they have presets for the Rode microphones, they don't have one for my NTG3 condenser microphone, but they do for normal broadcast mics. They even have the legendary RE20, the Electro Voice, which is used in radio broadcasts. It's probably the top selling used microphone. After this SM7B, which is way up there too. Then you also can choose condenser or dynamic. And again, channel 1, my SM7B is a dynamic mic. Channel 2, my Rode NTG3 is a condenser mic. If you go into the condenser mic, into the audio settings, I have phantom power turned on. I do not have phantom power turned on channel 1 because I don't need it with my SM7B, but I do need lots of gain. I am all the way up to 47, where on this condenser mic, it only takes 29. So this SM7B is a gain needing beast. So channel 3, we're not using right now, so we'll play with that. So I can also go into the effects channel. Now, instead of these all being presets, I have the ability to turn on control over the high pass filter. I can change the noise gate, which cuts out background noise, so the mic is only catching sounds when I'm talking. The de-esser, which takes out the sibilance, I can actually change it up and use it for other purposes, which is great because it takes out a strip of the EQ band and it lowers it. So maybe there's one sound in my voice and I can't EQ it in the RodeCaster Pro and I don't get exactly the sound I want. I could use the de-esser if I wanted to bring down that area in my voice that I think doesn't sound great, which is an EQ trick we use all the time in vocal mixing. And then I have a compressor. I also can compress the main channel out. So we go back to the channel view. There it is. That's the main channel out. And you can see right now I have 3-to-1 compression going on the main channel, which brings it up to standards. It brings up the low points in my voice. And that's what compression does. It kind of brings everything together. Some people say it smashes it, but if you use light compression under 4-to-1, all it really does is help you with the low lows. It actually will help you keep your high highs down a little bit. It's not quite a limiter. You have to go to really, really heavy compression to get limiting, but it's really kind of a cool feature for getting the broadcast at a good level. So if someone talks soft, you can help bring them up. So that's the main. So you can do a main mix right now, which I do. I have the compressor on. So there you go. You have the effects. And then the biggest two effects that I think sets this apart is the Aphex onboard. Aphex has been around a long time. They're really big in the audio industry. You used to have to buy interfaces to get big bottom and the Oriole exciter. But guess what? You click the Aphex button and you have big bottom, which I have on now. This is what it sounds like with big bottom off. This is what it sounds like with big bottom on, and I can raise and lower it. Right now it's kind of boosting at 100 hertz. I can change that. I can change the drive. I can change the mix, how much of it's mixed into the signal. So again, you have big bottom, which I'll leave on, and then you have the Oriole exciter. And I'm not a big fan of the Oriole exciter. It kind of brings the shine to the high ends. It would be great if you are a vocalist and you want to really add some shine to your vocal. I've used that kind of EQing before, but this is built in. So this is what my voice sounds like if I add the Oriole exciter. So it really kind of excites the higher end parts of your voice. It would, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive in your podcast or your live stream, that might be a feature that you would like on. I leave it off. So again, those two effects are built in to those channels. When you get to the phone channels, you don't have as many settings. You have presets. Again, you have levels, and you have those in all of those channels. The USB channel, you have the same two options, and the Bluetooth channel, you have the same two options. So that's a look at the RodeCaster Pro. Here's your headphone settings. Here's your main output. I have that off right now because I don't need my speakers on in my studio. But if you want to hear that echo and feedback here real quick, this is what would happen if I turn my studio speakers on. So we don't turn those on when I don't need to hear myself. I'm in the headphones right now and I can hear everything just fine. So RodeCaster Pro is an amazing piece of equipment in the midst of this studio. I absolutely love it, and I would love to recommend it to anybody that is looking for a centerpiece in their studio. There are other interfaces. I have a Sound Devices Mix Pre 6, which I will be doing an overview on. I use that. It goes in a bag. I can use that with my shotgun microphone. I can use it with lavalier microphones. It just goes over my shoulder. It's not a desk type system. But if I was going to do a podcast studio, a live studio like this, or even some portable jobs, I would probably use my RodeCaster Pro or have another one in a case. And I have a travel case for my RodeCaster Pro because I've used it in different parts of my house. I've used it a couple times on remote podcasts. But I also have my Mix Pre 6 by Sound Devices, which is designed to go in a bag. It's more portable. It's easier to power by battery power. So that may be something that you want to check into as well. So let's bring the stream back up here. and see if there are any comments or anything like that. So I don't see that. I've seen a couple viewers pop on, it says. Someone's playing it back right now. So if you have a question, please leave that in the notes and I will respond to it. This is just one of those things that I have here in the studio. We're going to talk more about the ATEM Mini and how to switch. We're going to talk about the ATEM streaming bridge a little bit more and creative ways that you can use that. We're going to go through a lot of these items I have here. You can see some of the monitors that I use in the studio. Literally, there's 3 monitors that I use on a regular basis in my studio. 2 based on position on the far left, and then 1 plays my HyperDeck Mini. And so the HyperDeck Mini is a really good tool. I premiered that in the first video. Let me give you a little teaser on that. Because that's going to be something that we're going to be using in the studio. So if I just hit camera 3 on my ATEM Mini and auto dissolve, it'll play this video. Now, if I had audio on this video, I could make the video live on the audio live on my ATEM Mini, and you would hear the audio. I use this for intro reels and outro reels all the time. And what I like about it is as soon as I hit the auto button, it plays. And so it'll play through, and then I can dissolve back to my camera shot. And so right now we're switching between that, but here's my camera shot in the studio. So I'm not using this camera right now, but I can. So it's not really positioned very good, but this is my normal streaming camera when I'm not doing OBS. I can do this shot. I could also do picture in picture. So if I wanted to bring in a picture in picture, you can see my boom arm. So let me lower this back down, and I could bring picture in picture up and bring that over and show you that in the live broadcast. So again, that's the different view in my studio. That's a little bit of a tour. We've looked at the RodeCaster Pro. You can see it right here. It is a great piece of equipment. And with the ATEM Mini, you can do different angles, different cameras. I can use my USB camera like I am tonight on my laptop, or I can stream directly from the ATEM Mini. So that's it tonight for the RodeCaster Pro. I feel like I've only still scratched the surface of this centerpiece in my studio, but if you've been doing YouTube or doing live streams, you should consider, this is not sponsored by RodeCaster or the RodeCaster Pro. I just love the device, and it's worked perfect for me in here. So later tonight, I'll be able to watch a movie through my JBL speakers, sit right here if I want to with my headphones, and watch my big screen TV, which you can see over my shoulder when we switch back to this view right here. To this camera view. Thanks for tuning in tonight for this live stream. I hope it helps you out. I hope it gives you a little bit more information about these different pieces of equipment. Maybe the RodeCaster Pro is the right device for you. I love it, and it's broken out of this big picture of all of this eclectic stuff in the studio, and we're going to talk about more of these things in the next part of our series. So thanks for tuning in tonight to this live stream. We will see you in the next video. Have a great evening. I'm Keith, Life Journey Production Studio. Subscribe. Please like this video, and please let me know if you have any questions. I would love to attempt to answer those about the RodeCaster Pro or how I have it using it right now with my ATEM Mini. God bless.